Emily had always felt a deep connection to the ebb and flow of life. When she decided to become a hospice nurse 17 years ago, it was more of a spiritual calling than a career choice. Over the years, she'd formed a bond with countless patients, guiding them through the twilight of their lives with grace and compassion. Her technical skills were unmatched, but what truly distinguished her was her uncanny ability to perceive the spiritual aura around her patients. Emily worked in a modest inpatient hospice unit far removed from the city's hustle and bustle. With just 10 beds, it was a small, intimate place where she knew every creak in the floor and every chirp of the resident birds outside. Each bed was a portal to a different realm of human emotion and spiritual energy. Emily often felt as if she were a guardian of the gateway between life and what lay beyond. Sarah was unlike anyone Emily had ever cared for. In her mid-50s, she'd been grappling with a terminal illness that had led to the amputation of one of her legs. But what stood out was her ethereal demeanor. She had an aura that seemed to transcend the bounds of her frail body. Sarah had always been a beacon of resilience and optimism. She'd joke about keeping her best foot forward, a phrase that would often lighten the atmosphere in the hospice. As fall drew closer to winter, Sarah's health began to deteriorate rapidly. Yet, her spirit remained unbroken. She filled the room with the light of her soul, her warmth piercing the cold sterility of the hospice. One late autumn evening, Emily was on her regular rounds, administering medication and ensuring her patients were comfortable. When she passed by Sarah's room, she witnessed something that would forever alter her understanding of life and death. Sarah was sitting up on her bed, but what captivated Emily's attention was not the brightness of her smile, which was radiant as always, but the fact that she had both legs. Confused, Emily took a few steps past the room, pondering what she had just seen. Sarah was missing a leg when she arrived at hospice. With a sense of bewilderment, she backtracked and peered through the door again closely. This time, Sarah was back in bed, lying peacefully, but still bound by her earthly frailties. Emily spent the remainder of her shift contemplating what the vision could mean. Had I seen her soul preparing to transcend, she thought. But amidst her confusion, she felt a wave of inexplicable joy and serenity wash over her. When Emily's shift finally ended, she drove home in a contemplative state, replaying the night's events over and over in her head. But nothing could prepare her for what awaited her at home. As she opened the door and stepped into her hallway, Emily found herself face to face with Sarah. Not the ailing, middle-aged Sarah she had left behind at the hospice, but a youthful, glowing version. Sarah stood there, restored to a vibrancy that defied age or illness. Both of her legs were intact, and her smile was luminous, almost otherworldly. Time stood still. Emily felt enveloped in a cocoon of warmth and light, as if reality had momentarily stepped aside to allow the impossible to occur. There was no fear, only awe and wonder. "Thank you for visiting me, Sarah," Emily whispered, her voice tinged with emotion. As if in response, Sarah's form began to dissolve, like mist in the morning sun. Her figure faded, leaving behind an atmosphere imbued with light and warmth. Shaken yet serene, Emily reached for her phone and called the hospice. Her colleague, Laura, picked up. "Could you please check on Sarah?" she asked. Laura returned to the phone after a seemingly eternal pause. "Emily, Sarah has passed on." A moment of silence enveloped Emily as she absorbed the news. She felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude, almost as if she had been touched by a sacred energy. Sarah had shared her transcendental journey with Emily, affirming the beautiful mystery of life and what lies beyond. Emily continued her work at the hospice, each day carrying the memory of her spiritual encounter with Sarah. She considered it a blessing, a sign that she was doing more than just administering medications and maintaining vitals. She was a part of something larger, something inexplicably beautiful and deeply spiritual. And as for Sarah, wherever her soul might be, Emily was certain she was dancing, spinning and twirling on both legs, just as she had in her radiant vision. Emily felt grateful for having been a part of Sarah's final, transformative moment, and it gave her an unshakable belief in the luminous beauty that waited beyond the veil.